An American overseas worker, Kyle LeBlanc, works in a steel mill in Magnitogorsk, Russia. After his wife complains about him not giving her enough time, he plans to visit her during his holidays. While driving home, he calls her to inform her about his visit, but hears her screaming, as a guy Sergio Kovic abuses her, and stabs her when she resists. Kyle rushes home to help her, but finds her dead body, while Kovic runs out of the house. After he chases him down, both are taken to the police station, but Kovic uses his influence and buys the judge, who declares him innocent in the case due to the lack of evidence. Enraged by this unjust decision, Kyle steals a gun from one of the guards and shoots Kovic multiple times right in the middle of the courthouse. As a result of this crime, he is sentenced to life in prison and is denied his right to parole. He is taken to Kravai prison, where the warden, General Hrushchev, punishes an inmate in front of the newcomers, to send a message that they might have to face similar consequences if they ever try to escape. While submitting his belongings, Kyle is beaten up by an officer, Lieutenant Talek, as he refuses to hand over his wedding ring, but Talek forcibly removes it anyway. At night, some officers take another American inmate, Billy Cooper, to a cell, where he is beaten and raped by a gangster, Andre, who has bribed the officers to fulfill his demands. Next morning, badly injured and traumatized Billy is taken to the infirmary, while Andre calmly walks out of the cell. As Andre teases Kyle the same way his wife's killer did, he picks up a fight with him, before being interrupted by the officers, who lock him up in solitary confinement. After being fed up with spending time in the filthy confinement cell, he decides to go on a hunger strike, and tries to commit suicide, but fails. He constantly has flashbacks of his deceased wife, which urges him to survive, and he eventually begins eating the food provided to him. Soon, he is taken out and transferred to a cell, with an inmate number 451, who is known to have killed his previous cellmates. Upon arriving there, Officer Tyluk asks him to be careful, and offers to change his cell in exchange for money, but Kyle refuses. Kyle gets a bit scared of his cellmate due to his bad reputation, but he does not speak a word to him. After a few days, his brother-in-law visits him, and assures him that he is making efforts to get him out, but asks him to pay the guards, so they can make his life easier in the meantime. Kyle later meets Billy in the prison yard, who tells him that he is sentenced for 1.5 years, due to driving while on drugs, and crashing his car into a restaurant. As they talk, another wheelchair-bound inmate, Malachi, joins in, and explains how things work in Kravai. He reveals Andre is a part of the Russian mafia, who pays the guards enough money to get things done in his own way, and leads a gang inside the prison. During the discussion, Malachi also tells them about his influence, and asks them to reach out in case they need anything. Kyle begins to settle in, but Andre constantly teases him, while provoking him to fight with him. After his cellmate 451 scares him by trying to choke him, he pays a guard and requests them to change his cell, but he asks him to wait, or increase the price. After a few days, a huge fight is organized in the prison. Malachi tells them it's General Hrushchev who arranges these fights, and gambles by betting his money on the fighters. Andre is known as the best fighter in Kravai, as he never loses a fight, and always beats up his opponents brutally.
Always after me. On the left is the one that's...
While watching the fight, Kyle asks Malachi if his cellmate ever participates in these fights, but is told that he refused to do it years ago. Although the officers don't like his decision, they cannot punish him, as they make a lot of money by putting other inmates in his cell, and then entertaining their requests to shift. After a few days, Billy is again taken to Andre's cell, where he tries to hurt him, but gets attacked instead, and is rushed to the infirmary again. While at work with other prisoners, Kyle is beaten up by some gang members, after he unintentionally offends them. They tell the officer that Kyle tried to disrespect them, and he allows them to take their revenge, which leads to him being intensely beaten by them. Kyle is again shifted to the solitary cell, where he hears another inmate in the next room, and tries to communicate with him through the wall. Time passes by, and he starts getting affected by witnessing the cruelty in the prison, where gangs pick up fights against each other, and kill other inmates over minor conflicts. While at work, as the guards are hit by a mine, Billy decides to take advantage of the situation, and makes a failed attempt to escape with another inmate, who gets shot, while Billy is taken back to the prison. Meanwhile, as Kyle is sent to solitary confinement again, he begins working on himself, and builds his strength to survive. But his cellmate gets concerned, as he thinks Kyle is losing his true self.
Embrace the world you're in.
As another fight is arranged, Kyle competes against Andre, who quickly starts beating him up. Soon, Kyle surprises everyone by making a comeback, and brutally biting Andre in his neck, which kills him, while he suffers a mental breakdown, as his cellmate watches him in shock. This first fight proves to be a turning point, and he maintains a winning streak, which earns him a lot of respect from the inmates. As he gets extremely violent in his fights, and often kills his opponents, the situation alarms his well-wishers Malachi and Billy, who get worried about his changed behavior. When he returns to his cell, inmate 451, who is concerned about him, asks, "Do you even know who you are?" but realizes he has probably gone too far to come back. When his brother-in-law visits next time, Kyle stops him from trying to get him out, as he thinks nothing will change, so he does not want to get false hope. During Russian Independence Day celebrations, Malachi urges Billy to escape, but reveals his plan to the guards in exchange for medicine. After being tortured by the officers, Billy is transferred into another cell, with a new inmate Valia, who rapes him and tortures him to death after Billy spits on his face. Kyle spots badly wounded Billy in the cell, and rushes to rescue him, but he succumbs to his injuries, after advising him, "Don't let them turn you into something you are not." Just like many other unfortunate prisoners, who lose their lives to the horrible tortures of Karavi, Billy's body is silently buried in the ground, without informing anyone. Moved by his advice, Kyle stands up for himself, and refuses to fight anymore, and is hanged outside as a punishment for everyone to see.
What the hell is going on? I won't be your game.
He faces the harsh weather conditions, but does not give up, and refuses to be a part of their corrupt games. Meanwhile, 451, who has found out about Malachi's betrayal of Billy, decides to punish him by pouring a flammable liquid all over his body and lighting him on fire. This fire reminds him of the time when he was abused by his teacher, but he took his revenge the same way as he did to Malachi. Inspired by Kyle's consistency and courage, other inmates decide to stand up for themselves. The rival gangs resolve their disputes and get united, while refusing to fight against each other. As each one of them refuses to be part of the game, the officers are left helpless, because they cannot punish them all. The situation frustrates General Khrushchev and his fellow officers, because they used to make a lot of money from gambling in the fights. After holding Kyle responsible for making them rebellious, they plan to get rid of him to settle things down. Kyle is taken out from confinement, and is shifted to the infirmary, where he remembers his wife Grace, who expresses her happiness over his return. As he complains about missing her, she also tells him that nobody is ever gone, as long as there is someone to remember them. Enraged by his actions, Lieutenant Tyluk brings in the most dangerous prisoner, Mylok, and forces him to fight against Kyle. During the fight, Kyle bangs on the wall, the same way he did in confinement, which makes Mylok recognize him, as he was the only one who ever tried to communicate with him. He immediately stops the fight and befriends Kyle. The situation frustrates the lieutenant, who points a gun at them, while forcing them to fight, but Kyle and Mylok attack him instead. This gives rise to a riot, as the prisoners start protesting against the guards, and break out of their cells. The officer shoots Mylok multiple times, but he still manages to take him down. As the inmates start trashing the place, Kyle turns to Mylok and tries to comfort him, but he loses his life due to his injuries. Soon, the guards take control of the situation by calling in extra force, which makes the prisoners retreat to their cells. As Kyle and his cellmates sit there in disappointment, he informs him about his wife's murder, and discloses that when he lost himself, he lost her as well, but does not want to repeat the same mistake this time. Seeing him frustrated, 451 reveals he can help him escape. Upon returning to their cell, he gives him some documents, which contain the proof of all the murders and corruption that happened there during the last 20 years, and explains that his plan involves one last fight. Although Kyle does not want to do it again, he gives in, as it's his only chance of getting out. Meanwhile, 451 narrates that 7 inmates and a guard died in riots, but it was still a success for them, because for the first time they stood up for their rights, instead of fighting against each other. As Kyle agrees to compete in another fight, General Khrushchev thinks of it as his success, as it gives him a chance to kill Kyle and get rid of him forever. As 451 told him, the officers intend to take him out of the prison to shoot him. Meanwhile, he sneaks into the garage through a secret passage and attacks the guards to rescue Kyle. After getting the keys from a guard and unlocking his handcuffs, Kyle takes his ring back and crushes him with a car. Upon 451's advice, he changes into the guard's uniform and asks him to come with him, but he refuses to leave and hands over the documents, while asking him to make sure the world knows about this place. As Kyle gets the guard's car and intends to leave, 451 returns to the general's office and kills him as revenge for his misdeeds. He is soon found by the guards, who take him back to his cell, while Kyle successfully makes it out. Upon returning to the US, he publishes the documents, which lead to the closure of Kravai prison after 3 months. The end.